was trying to write a goodbye that sounded like an invitation to stay. But the words wouldn't come 'cause the truth was too heavy for the paper. You were moving toward the city, and I was rooted in the red clay soil. We shared a life like a book that we both forgot to keep reading, until we realized the last chapter had already been written in the silence. The pressure of the unsaid is cracking the windows of this house, and the ticking of the grandfather clock sounds like a final warning. Love didn't break under the pressure, it just evaporated like morning mist, leaving us with a geography that no map could ever truly explain. I watched you pack your heart into a box and tape it shut for good, while I stood in the doorway with 1,000 weights stuck in my throat. Now the distance is a canyon where my voice just echoes back to me. I looked in the mirror. Miles of silence. The porch swing is swaying in a wind that smells like rain and empty promises. I found a single earring in the couch cushions like a silver tear. Every time the phone rings, I hope it's the wrong number or a ghost, because the truth of your absence is harder to swallow than cheap whiskey. We grew apart like two trees searching for different patches of sun, until our roots were the only things keeping us from moving on. The air feels thick with the weight of the letters I never mailed, and the horizon is looking more like a wall than a doorway today. Heartbreak isn't always a storm, sometimes it is just a drought. Watching the person you love become a stranger in a different zip code. I gave you my hand, but I never gave you a reason to stay put. Now the highway is singing a song that I don't know the words to, and the distance is a thief that stole the warmth from my bed. I spent my words on the harvest while your heart was starving for a sign, thinking that providing meant more than just being there to listen. I let my ego drive the truck while you were walking in the ditch, blaming the miles when I should have been blaming my own stubborn feet. It wasn't your departure that broke us, it was my long-term stay in a version of myself that didn't have any room for your needs. I'm stripping back the layers of the man I thought I had to be, revealing a vulnerability that I've hidden for 20 long years. It's honest and it's ugly, but it's the only truth I have left. I am changing for the better, even if it's too late for you to see. The morning fog is lifting and the road ahead looks clear and cold. I'll keep walking forward even if I'm walking into the wind. There is a peace in knowing that you're finally chasing your light. I'll find my own way home through the quiet you left behind.
Rain streaks across the windshield like tears on a dusty face in the middle of July. I'm driving past the high school stadium where the lights are out and the grass is brown. The smell of damp asphalt is mixing with the memory of a cold beer on a Friday night. I can hear the ghost of the crowd cheering for a boy I don't recognize anymore. Tension is pulling at my heartstrings like a fisherman with a heavy line in the dark. The steering wheel is vibrating with the pulse of a town that refused to change. I'm a stranger in a place where I used to know every dog's name on the street. Broken fences line the pasture where we used to run wild under the summer stars. The taste of iron is on my tongue from the well water we drank behind the barn. Oh, ghosts are hitching a ride in the bed of my truck as I cruise through the square. There's a flickering candle in a window of the church where I fail to pray. I lost the deed to my soul in a card game in Reno, and I never tried to buy it back. Left her waiting at the altar of a dream while I chased a nightmare across the plains. Now I'm looking at the empty lot where my grandfather's house used to stand proud. I traded a lifetime of belonging for a suitcase full of nothing but empty space. I'm confessing to the dashboard that I'm tired of being a man who always runs. I'm breaking the cycle of the road and the whiskey and the lies I told myself at night. This is the breakthrough I needed, standing in the rain in the middle of my own wreckage. Finally learned how to carry right. Swallowed enough coal dust to build a mountain of my own. This factory floor is a conveyor belt to an early grave. My father died with a wrench in his hand and a dead in his chest. I'm walking through the steam like a man possessed by a bearded ghost. Every bolt I tighten feel like a nail in the coffin of my dreams. The same old stories are told over the same lukewarm lunch. The tank is full and the paper map is burned to ashes. My heart is a piston hitting 6,000 revolutions per minute. The gate is open and I'm not looking for anyone's permission. I'm screaming but the asphalt is singing a different tune about the miles ahead. I'm shedding the skin of the laborer and becoming the traveler, triumphant and tired, but more alive than I've ever been.
Crack yellow line is bleeding into the oil stains on this lonesome stretch of blacktop. My headlights catch a skeleton of the old Sinclair station, where we used to steal kisses. The air smells like damp pine and the copper tank of an approaching autumn storm. Every shuttered window on Main Street feels like a cold eye watching me crawl back home. I passed the water tower with all names, faded under 20 years of rust and rain. My knuckles are white as bone against the warm leather of this steering wheel. The silence in the cab is screaming louder than the diesel engine ever could. Every mile marker is a tally of the days I spent running from the truth. Shadows of the oak trees dance across the porch where a rocking chair sat still. The moonlight spills like silver whiskey over the fields we used to call our kingdom. A broken heart don't make a sound when it hits the floor of a ghost town. There's a flickering lamp in the window of the house where I left my soul behind. Didn't just walk away from the girl. I buried my father's pride in a shallow grave. Left the mortgage on the kitchen table and took the only key that still worked. Now I'm staring at the darkened nursery window of a life I wasn't brave enough to lead. The guilt tastes like wood smoke and the bitter dregs of a bottle of cheap rye. I was a coward dressed in denim and a reckless dream of something better than the soil. God, I wish I'd crashed this truck before I ever crossed that county line 10 years ago. I'm finally letting go of the steering wheel and letting the memory wash me clean. The sunrise is a pale bruise on the horizon as I put the truck back into gear. I don't need a map to know that some taking the peace I finally found in the dark. Blinking yellow light at the crossroads looks like a dying heartbeat in the fog. I'm passing the diner where the neon sign is missing the R and the E tonight. My tires are humming a funeral march on the bridge or the muddy creek. I can see the ripple of the water catching the pale light of a lonesome moon. The dashboard lights are a dim green glow, reflecting the fear in my tired eyes. I'm holding my breath as I pass the lane that leads to her daddy's farmhouse. Every turn of the engine feels like a clock ticking down an inevitable end. Wildfire smoke is drifting down from the hills where we used to hunt for treasure. The scent of her lavender soap still haunts the upholstery of this old bench seat. Rusty chains are clanking on the swing set in the park where we carved our vows. 1,000 stories are written in the dirt of these back roads I tried to forget. Spent a decade chasing a shadow while the real sun was sitting right behind me. I let the bottle speak for me when I should have used my own damn voice to stay. Now the porch light is off at her place and there's a strange car parked in the drive. That's a price you pay for leaving a heart out in the cold for too many winters. I'm shouting at the wind 'cause the wind is the only thing that will listen to me now. I was wrong to think that distance could ever cure the sickness of a restless spirit. I'm dropping my guard and letting the truth cut through the armor I built around my heart. The road ahead is dark, but my mind is clearer than it's been in a dozen years. I'll take the long way out of town and leave the ghosts to their peaceful slumber. It's a quiet kind of mercy to know that life goes on, even when you aren't there. Headlights cutting through the fog like a knife through sacred grass on a Sunday night. I'm passing the old sawmill where the saws have been silent for
generation now. The air is heavy with the scent of damp sawdust and the ghost of working men. Every pothole in this road is a memory of a journey I wasn't ready to take. My hand is shaking on the gear shift as I approach the house with the blue shutters. The emotional weight of 10 years is pressing down on the roof of this cab. I can feel the gravity of the past pulling me toward the porch light in the distance. Fireflies are dancing in the meadow behind the fence, rebuilt with our own hands. My tattered screen door is swinging in the breeze like a heartbeat in an empty house. The silver lining of the clouds is the only map I have left to find my way back. 1,000 unspoken words are hanging in the air like smoke from a dying fire. I found a letter in the glove box that I wrote to her from a motel in East Texas. It's stained with coffee and the truth that I was too scared to mail it back then. I realized I wasn't running to something, I was just terrified of being known. The stakes are higher now that I see the life she built without me in the picture. I'm tearing down the walls of my own stubborn heart right here on this gravel drive. I was the villain in the story, but I'm ready to be the man who learns to stay. I'm breathing out the poison of the road and breathing in the grace of the valley. A small smile catches me in the rearview mirror as the first bird starts to sing. I'm not looking back anymore because the view in front of me is finally enough. I'm stepping out of the truck and leaving the keys in the dirt for the wind to find.
Silver and the whiskey burns the trail of every lie I ever told her. Sitting on this stool makes me feel a century older. The fan is cutting the cigarettes, smoking the jacket shapes. I'm looking for a window, there aren't any escapes. shadows in the corner are whispering about the past. The floor is sticky with the spill, dreams of better men. I'm waiting for the courage to pick up my heavy pen. But the ink has turned to vinegar and the paper's gone dry. I can hear the lonesome whistle of a train passing by. I'm a hero for surviving that winter storm, but I was the reason the fire didn't keep the cabin warm. I took the only blanket and left the others to the frost. I'm the king of a kingdom where every single soul was lost. I carry their shivering voices in the marrow of my bones. The velvet night is closing in like a velvet line coffin. I'm hearing the sounds of footsteps I don't hear very often. There's a tally on the wall for the sins I haven't cleared. I'm becoming the very monster that I always feared. Take my hand if you wanna see how deep the canyon goes. I've got secrets buried deeper than the winter mountain snow. I'm a hollowed out tree standing in a field of fire. I'm a broken down string on a forgotten country lyre. The bartender is turning the sign around to close. My true identity is about to be completely exposed. The moon is a cold eye staring through the window pane. I guess I'll just sit here and wait for the rain. Echoes of the playground under the flickering porch light. We felt like giants in the middle of the night. A handshake was a contract that couldn't be broken. Back when the truth didn't need to be spoken. I knew your secrets and you knew all of mine. walking together on a thin straight line. The seasons keep changing while we stay the same, but the spark in our friendship is a dying flame. I'm reaching for someone who isn't there anymore, watching the tide pull away from the shore. A slow motion parting of two kindred hearts. Now you talk about politics and interest rates, while I'm still worrying about the closing gates. You found a religion that I can't understand, and I've got a life that didn't go as I planned. We're polite at the funerals and the weddings we attend, but I know that I've lost my very best friend. It's funny how time makes a hero a ghost and takes away the things that you needed the most. We're just two branches on a dying old tree, trying to remember how we used to be when the world was as small as a yard. I'll keep the memories in a box on the shelf and try to find a way to be okay with myself. Safe travels on the road you've paved, for all the moments that we never saved. Just a quiet sigh.
Mailbox flag is rusted shut, like the throat of a man with too much to say. I've been watching the wheat fields bend under a wind that doesn't reach me. Your letters stop coming, but the silence tells me more than the ink ever could. It's the sound of a woman finding her voice in a city of millions. We didn't have a final showdown or a dramatic exit in the middle of the night. We just let the thread between us get so thin that it finally floated away. The breath I'm holding is starting to feel like a mountain in my chest, and the horizon is a jagged line that looks like a heart monitor flat line. And distance is a slow thief, stealing the warmth from our hands while we sleep. It's the accumulation of every maybe later and not right now. I hope the skyscrapers give you the height that this valley never offered, because I was a ceiling when I should have been a wide open sky. Now the miles are a debt I'm paying back with every lonely sunset. I looked at the old photo and saw the exact moments your smile started to fade. It was the day I told you that my roots were too deep for your dreams. I was so proud of my heritage that I forgot to build a future for you, choosing the tradition of my father over the transition of my heart. I was the architect of this isolation, and I built the walls myself, thinking I was keeping us safe when I was just keeping you trapped. I'm breaking down the fences I spent my whole life trying to maintain, admitting that the view is better when you're not afraid of the horizon.
coming without me in your way. I'll keep the farm running, but I'll leave the gate wide open from now on. It's a hopeful kind of lonesome to know that you're finally breathing deep. May your journey be longer than the shadows I cast on your soul.
The cracked yellow line is bleeding into the oil stains on this lonesome stretch of blacktop. My headlights catch the skeleton of the old Sinclair station where we used to steal kisses. The air smelled like damp pine and the copper tang of an approaching autumn storm. Every shuttered window on Main Street feels like a cold eye watching me crawl back home. I pass the water tower with our names faded at under 20 years of rust and rain. My knuckles are white as bone against the worn leather of this steering wheel. The silence in the cab is screaming louder than the diesel engine ever could. Every mile marker is a tally of the days I spent running from the truth. Shadows of the oak trees dance across the porch where a rocking chair sat still. The moonlight spills like silver whiskey over the fields we used to call our kingdom. A broken heart don't make a sound when it hits the floor of a ghost town. There's a flickering lamp in the window of the house where I left my soul behind. Just walk away from the girl I buried my father's pride in a shallow grave. Left the mortgage on the kitchen table and took the only key that still worked. Now I'm staring at the darkened nursery window of a life I wasn't brave enough to lead. The guilt tastes like wood smoke and the bitter dregs of a bottle of cheap rye. Was a coward dressed in denim and a reckless dream of something better than the soil. God, I wish I'd crashed this truck before I ever crossed that county line 10 years ago. I'm finally letting go of the steering wheel and letting the medley wash me clean. The sunrise is a pale bruise on the horizon as I put the truck back into gear. I don't need a map to know that some roads only lead to a quiet final goodbye. I'm leaving the ghost to the night and
Getting watermelon seeds off the back of your porch. We were the kings of the county, holding the torch, tracing maps in the dirt with a broken stick, thinking that the bond we had would always stick. Thick as the humidity in a Georgia July. Two kids convinced that we'd never say goodbye. The distance isn't measured in the miles on the road. It's the silence that settles under the heavy load. We traded our dreams for the bills and the pride. With nowhere left for the young hearts to hide. A beautiful tragedy of becoming someone new. Now your house is filled with voices I've never met. My life is a gamble with a mounting debt. You speak of the harvest and the price of the grain. I talk of the city and the weight of the rain. The laughter we shared is a muffled old sound, lost in the noise of the world spinning round. Time is a thief that doesn't leave a single trace, except for the lines etched across a weary face. We're just two ships passed in the morning light, losing our bearings in the middle of the night. Wisdom comes at a cost I didn't want to pay. Half-empty bottle and a dusty old frame, searching for the boy who shared my last name. It's okay that we're different now, even if I don't remember how. To bridge the gap between us.
Conversation I've had in years. My reflection in the dining window looks like a stranger I hate. The town square is a circle that never lets anyone leave the middle. I'm tired of the dust and the talk about the weather and the crops. The heavy doors of the mill are closing on the man I used to be, working for a pittance and dying for a dream that wasn't mine. The needle is moving and the shadows are starting to stretch. I've got enough fire in my belly to light up the whole interstate. Everything I own is sitting in the seat right next to me. I'm breaking the silence with a roar that can be heard for miles. The mountains are calling me like a mother I never quite knew, leaving the echoes of the hammer behind for the song of the tires. I'm a comet in the darkness, burning up the road to the coast. I wait until the shift change to make my move into the light. Park the truck at the cliffside and watch the mill smoke rise. Then I turned the wheel toward the west and didn't look back once. The chains of the past are snapping with every gear I shift. I'm a shadow in the moonlight, vanishing into the great wide open. I'm a ghost in the rear view, vanishing into the purple haze. The highway is a ribbon that's tied my future to the stars. No more ceilings or walls, just the infinite stretch of the blue. I'm breathing in the wild and exhaling the smoke of the mill. I've spent 40 years listening to the sound of other men's orders. Now the only voice I hear is the one inside my own chest. It's telling me to run until I find where the sun goes to sleep. Triumphant and reckless, I'm finally living for the struggle is a distant memory. The road goes on forever and the journey never has to end. Golden skies, I'm finally home. Rust on the gate, guitar swing is hanging by a single frayed thread. Remember how we jumped into the clover bed. We shared a pack of gum and a secret oath, back when this small town was big enough for both. You had the blueprint and I had the spark, running till the street lights chased away the dark. Life is a river that carves out its own jagged way. The things we didn't mention are the things we can't say. We looked at the horizon and saw two different skies. Now there's a stranger looking through my oldest friend's eyes. The bridge we burned was made of time instead of wood. You settled down with a mortgage and a steady hand. I took the highway searching for the promised land. The car we shared last Christmas felt like a chore, talking about the weather through a locked iron door. Your knuckles are callous while my soul is just tired. Two different paths that the universe required. Maybe growing up is just learning how to let go of the people we promised we'd always know. The mirror shows a man I barely recognize at all. standing in the shadow of a rising garden wall. It's not that we failed, it's just that we grew. I'll leave a light on for the ghost of you, a quiet nod to the brothers we used to be, before the world stole you away from me. Just a whisper in the pines, walking separate lines. We carved our names in the paint of the water tower, spent every single minute of every single hour, and dreaming of the day we'd finally leave this place, searching for a life that had a little more space. You were the anchor and I was a sail, two sides of a coin on a dusty trail. The map that we drew has been folded and torn, leaving us weathered and a little bit worn. I miss the person you were before the world got its way, and I'm sorry for the man I've become today. Two souls drifting out on an endless gray sea. Your letter stopped coming about 3 years ago. I heard you move north where the heavy winds blow. I saw a picture of you with a grin that looked forced, like a part of your spirit had been quietly divorced. I'm still in the valley, chasing shadows of ghosts, while you're making speeches and giving the toast. Old age is a mountain that we climb all alone, finding that the seeds we planted have finally grown into a forest that blocks out the path back home. Wherever we wander and wherever we roam, friendship is a fragile thing to hold in your hand. The sun's going down on the memory of us, covered in layers of silver and rust. I'll see you in the dreams of the past, where things were built to truly last. Goodbye to the way it was. Swapping comic books under the flickering porch light. We felt like giants in the middle of the night. A handshake was a contract that couldn't be broken, back when the truth didn't need to be spoken.
I knew your secrets and you knew all of mine. Walking together on a thin straight line. The seasons keep changing while we stay the same, but the spark in our friendship is a dying flame. I'm reaching for someone who isn't there anymore, watching the tide pull away from the shore, a slow motion parting of two kindred hearts. Now you talk about politics and interest rates, while I'm still worrying about the closing gates. You found a religion that I can't understand, and I've got a life that didn't go as I planned. We're polite at the funerals and the weddings we attend, but I know that I've lost my very best friend. It's funny how time makes a hero a ghost, and takes away the things that you needed the most. We're just two branches on a dying old tree, trying to remember how it used to be when the world was as small as a yard. I'll keep the memories in a box on the shelf, and try to find a way to be okay with myself. Safe travels on the road you paved, for all the moments that we never saved. Just a quiet sigh.